The Signal Vanished Part 1. Chapter 1. Viral Ghost Feed. Noah Silas hated 3 a.m. The silence between heartbeats. The hour when sleep no longer came and the dark felt a little too sentient. He sat alone in his studio apartment, floor littered with podcast notes, cold coffee, and 4 different microphones. The glow of his editing screen reflected in his glasses. He was halfway through cutting his next episode, The Blackwood Vanishing, when the email arrived. No subject, no sender, no body, just an audio file named signal_423.mp3. He stared at it. Normally, he didn't touch unverified files. Not after the Ken and High Troll incident. But this one was different. It was time-stamped for 3 minutes in the future. He pressed play. It started with static. But underneath the hiss, something layered. Mechanical. Organic. Then, a whisper. Barely audible. Take what we give, or lose what you love. A low, rhythmic pulse followed. Not music. Not breathing. A countdown. And then, coordinates. Spoken in an old woman's voice. Merriwick. 41.3639 degrees north, 75.6903 degrees west. Noah's chest tightened. He pulled up the map. Merriwick, Pennsylvania. A town so small it didn't have its own post office. No major crime reports. No social media footprint. Practically erased from the internet. But what struck him wasn't the obscurity. It was the date tagged in the metadata. April 23rd, 2:59 a.m. The same time. Every year. For the past 34 years. He opened his inbox. Hit record on his mic. You're listening to Echo Signal. And tonight, something reached out. I don't know if it's a prank, a hoax, or a trap, but I'm going to Merriwick. If I vanish, don't search for me. Just check the static. Chapter 2. The Town That Doesn't Talk. Merriwick, Pennsylvania. Population, 3,042. Elevation, 1,281 feet. Google search results, 6. Noah pulled off Route 115 just after noon, following the kind of hand-painted wooden sign that looked like it hadn't been touched since the 80s. Welcome to Merriwick, where time takes its time. The sign had a spiral carved into the corner. He stared at it for a beat too long. The streets were clean. Too clean. A few shuttered storefronts. A gas station with analog pumps. And a diner that looked like it had been pulled from a 1950s postcard, the Merriwick Griddle. The air was crisp, pine-heavy. Too quiet. Noah parked outside the diner and stepped out, letting his portable recorder hang at his hip. Always on. Always rolling. He liked capturing the real sounds. Ambient, unrehearsed, raw. As he walked up the steps, a bell chimed. Everyone inside turned to look. But only one person smiled. She looked to be in her late 50s. Curly silver hair. Wide, knowing eyes. Apron smudged with flour. A name tag read, Claire. Welcome, stranger. Passing through, Noah smiled politely. Maybe. I'm a podcaster, looking into old urban legends. A flicker passed across her face. We get folks like you once in a while. They never stay long. Why's that? Oh, nothing happens here. Then, before he could speak, you're not staying until the 23rd, are you? That stopped him. He laughed softly, trying to play it cool. What happens on the 23rd? Claire didn't answer. Just wiped her hands and turned toward the kitchen. After a tense silence, the rest of the room returned to eating. Noah sat at the far booth and opened his notebook. He wrote, Someone here remembers. Someone wants me gone. His coffee arrived with a sticky note under the cup. Typed. Neat. Clinical. Ask about the girl who vanished live. Later, Noah checked into a faded motel on the edge of town, Maple Pines Lodge. 1 key. 1 room. 1 warning from the clerk. Merriwick rolls up by 9. After that, you're on your own. He unpacked and began researching in the dim motel light. The town had no Wikipedia page. Its public records hadn't been updated in 15 years. But one archived blog post popped up. April 23, 2019, the TikTok girl vanished midstream. He clicked. Dead link. That night, as he lay in bed, he heard a strange clicking sound. Repetitive. Soft. Mechanical. He opened the drawer next to the bed. Inside was an old, portable cassette recorder. Noah pressed play. It clicked twice. Then, don't let them tell you it's quiet here. It only sounds that way if you're not listening. Chapter 3. A list that doesn't exist. Noah returned to the Merriwick griddle at 8 o'clock the next morning, hoping Claire might drop another cryptic note with his scrambled eggs. But she was gone. The waitress, much younger, visibly annoyed by his recorder, said Claire didn't work Wednesdays. So instead, Noah turned to the Merriwick Public Library. Or what passed for one. It was a single room behind the old town hall, half books, half mildew, lit by humming fluorescents that flickered every 12 seconds. He asked the librarian about public records. Missing persons. We don't really keep those, she said with a tight smile. Small town. People don't go missing. No one at all, he pressed. Not that I recall. Her eye twitched when she said it. Left alone at a dusty back table, Noah opened his laptop and started digging again. Old Reddit threads, ghost story forums, YouTube rabbit holes. Nothing concrete. Just one cryptic comment from 3 years ago on a now-deleted TikTok. She said the spiral knew her name. That's how it got in. Noah sighed and leaned back, cracking his neck. That's when something fell. From the top shelf behind him, a thin black notebook slipped between the books and hit the floor. It was leather-bound, unmarked. Inside, pages of names. Handwritten. Clean. Every line dated April 23rd. Noah flipped through them, his pulse rising. 1989, Mallory Glass. 1990, Trent Weaver. 1991, Diana May Callow. 2019. 2020, no name listed. 2021, the one who saw it. The final entry. 2022, not yet chosen. But what chilled him wasn't the names. It was what was drawn at the center of the last page. A spiral, etched over and over, dark ink pressed so hard the paper tore through. And underneath it, scrawled hastily. She streamed it. They still forgot her. Noah's hands trembled as he turned back to 2019. Mallory Glass. That name wasn't the one from the TikTok story. He checked again. The post that had vanished from the archive blog had mentioned someone named Eliza Morell. He flipped to 2019. No Eliza. She wasn't anywhere in the book. He searched every page. Not once. But at the back, taped into the final cover. A Polaroid. A girl standing in front of the collapsed radio tower. Smiling. Holding a sign that read, April 23rd, 19, we're still here. Written in Sharpie across the bottom corner. You always forget me. Noah snapped a photo of the page. Saved it. Backed it up twice. And as he slipped the notebook into his bag, the lights flickered. The spiral on the page began to blur. Not smear. Blur. Like the ink had been rewritten from somewhere else. That night, back at the motel, Noah uploaded a teaser to his podcast. Merriwick's not hiding a crime. It's hiding a memory. And someone's changing it in real time. This isn't just a cold case. It's a living one. Chapter 4, Missing in Real Time. Noah set up the interview late that night. He didn't trust daytime anymore, not in Merriwick. Something about the sunlight here felt edited. Like the whole town had been white-balanced just a little too warm, a little too pleasant. But when the lights dimmed, the truth tried harder to speak. Her name was Alyssa Grant, roommate and best friend of Eliza Morell, the girl who'd allegedly vanished mid-TikTok stream in April 2019. He found her through a deep Reddit thread on urban disappearances and social media anomalies. She agreed to a recorded Zoom interview. Only audio, camera off. She didn't like to be seen anymore. Noah, can you tell me what happened to Eliza? Alyssa, soft, cautious, she started seeing spirals. Not just drawings. Like, in places they shouldn't be. Her coffee foam. Her eye scans. Her dreams. Noah, did she mention Merriwick? Alyssa, she never said the name. But she called it the town where the signal is buried. Noah paused. What signal? The one that answers when no one else will. She used to whisper into her phone at night, like she was on a call. But there was never anyone on the line. Noah felt a static crawl along his spine. He reached to mute his mic for a second. And in that exact moment, Alyssa's voice changed. It deepened. Not in pitch, but in presence. Like it had moved closer to the mic, without her actually moving. She told me something right before she vanished. She said, if I disappear, it's not because I'm gone. It's because you forgot me. The connection glitched. A short pop of digital static. Then Alyssa's camera, off until now, flickered on for a single frame. Noah saw her. Wide-eyed. Pale. Mouth open. Behind her, barely visible, was a wall. And on that wall, scrawled in black marker, looping outward, a spiral. Then the screen went black. Call ended. File corrupted. Noah sat still for 5 whole seconds before reloading the audio. His recorder had saved a backup. He played it back and heard not Alyssa's voice, but his own, saying a sentence he never remembered recording. You saw her vanish. Now you'll forget her, too. He scrubbed back. Same voice. Same line. Noah stared at the file. It was named Alyssa _ 4.23.23.wave. That was tomorrow's date. He looked back at the notebook from the library. The 2023 line was still blank. Still waiting. He clicked his pen. Once. Twice. And then slowly wrote. 2023, Alyssa Grant? The ink bled more than usual, as if the page didn't want the name written. He opened his laptop to upload a warning to his listeners. Instead, he found an email waiting in his inbox. No subject. No sender. Just one line of text. Delete the episode, or she's next. Attached was a file. Signal _ 425.mp3. He didn't click it. Not yet. But he could already hear it humming in his headphones, without pressing play. Chapter 5, The Last Tower. The forest outside Marowak had no real trail. The coordinates Eliza's file had once broadcast pointed Noah deep into the trees, 1.4 miles northeast of Highway 12, down a gravel road that didn't appear on GPS and dead-ended into dense brush. But the spiral was carved into a tree near the edge. Someone had marked the path. Noah walked for nearly 40 minutes. No birds. No wind. Just his footsteps crunching over pine needles and his portable recorder humming faintly, the levels spiking every few seconds, as if it were listening to something just ahead. Then, like a ruin blooming out of the undergrowth, the tower. It had once been 80 feet tall, maybe more, a steel-framed radio mast, now half-collapsed and rusted black. The upper platform had buckled, one side leaning against the ridge like a broken limb. But the base was intact, surrounded by a chain-link fence cut open in one corner. Inside the fence, someone had constructed a makeshift shrine. 3 old radio transmitters, a milk crate filled with cassette tapes, a Polaroid stapled to the fence, Eliza, smiling, her hand on the mast. And in the center, a tape recorder. It was already running. The reels spun slowly, even though the device appeared unplugged. Noah crouched and pressed the playback button. A hiss, then a child's voice. Not cheerful, measured, practiced. Rule 1, you do not name the one you see. Rule 2, you do not follow the spiral after sunset. Rule 3, if the signal calls your name, do not answer out loud. Rule 4, someone must be taken. And Rule 5, if you break the rules, the echo gets louder. Noah stared at the recorder, then down at the tapes. Each one was labeled only with a year. 1989, all the way to 2023, but that one was still blank. And underneath it, a label in different handwriting. Who will speak this time? He pocketed the tape. Not the 2023 one, the 1997 tape. The year he was born. Back at the motel, he played it. The voice on the tape wasn't a child this time. It was a man. Familiar. Tired. Today they chose me. I thought maybe if I left this, someone would know. But they don't remember us, do they? They rewrite us. Replace us. If you're hearing this, record everything. Don't trust memory. Don't trust names. We are already the echo. Noah sat frozen. The voice sounded just like his father. But his father had died in 2004. Long before podcasts. Long before this place. He rewound it. Played it again. Still the same. He looked down at the tape label again and noticed something he'd missed. 1997, N. Silas. Chapter 6, Echo Signal. Noah couldn't sleep. After the tower, after the voice. Every shadow in the motel room seemed to tilt slightly inward, like they were listening too. At 3 a.m., his phone vibrated once. No message. No call. Just a low hum in his earpiece. Almost like feedback. Almost like breathing. He spent the morning hunting down the one local who might know more about radios than anyone else. Earl Whitman, ham radio operator, Vietnam vet, survived a lightning strike in '93, had lived on the outskirts of Marowak since before anyone could remember. Noah found him on a porch surrounded by antennas. You hear it? Earl asked, before Noah even introduced himself. The frequency? No. The pause between them. Earl let Noah use his rig. Massive, dusty, dials like aircraft instruments. A hand-painted spiral was etched onto the side of the transmitter. You're looking for the echo band. It's not real by FCC standards, but it lives between 42.3 and 42.5 megahertz. Clear at night. Fuzzy in the day. You'll know when it hears you. Noah turned the dials. Static. A whine. More static. Then, click. The room chilled. The signal came through clear, as if it had been waiting. At first, just a tone. Then a voice. His own. This is Noah Silas, coming to you from the edge of Marowak. The trees are still. The signal is strong. I'm about to disappear. Noah froze. He hadn't said that. Ever. Earl stood in the doorway, arms crossed, unmoving. Did you broadcast that? No. Then it's already started. Noah recorded everything. Saved the file 3 times. He played it back. But the second time, it was different. Same voice. Same tone. Different words. You're hearing this because the spiral needs you to. But you don't have to finish the sentence. You just have to remember it first. He asked Earl, has this happened before? Every decade or so, someone comes looking for a ghost. Usually ends up becoming one. And the town forgets them. Like a story never told. Noah left with a portable receiver, borrowed from Earl's shelf of custom gear. On the bottom was a label. For those who still think they're real. That night, Noah played the broadcast again. This time, it ended with a new sentence. One he hadn't heard before. You came looking for Marowak. But we've been looking for you. Chapter 7, Redacted. The Marowak Sheriff's Department was tucked between a laundromat and a shuttered hardware store. No security cameras. One faded patrol car. A single sign taped to the door. Office hours, 10 a.m. 3 p.m. No exceptions. Noah arrived at 2:42. Inside, the place smelled like burnt coffee and damp carpet. A small desk fan blew uselessly behind the counter. Sheriff Douglas Hart was in his 60s, built like a man who never stopped being a linebacker. He had a full white mustache and a blank stare that could steamroll curiosity. Noah, I'm investigating a string of possible disappearances. I'd like to see the records, missing persons, cold cases, any relevant files. Hart, without looking up, we don't have any. You don't have missing persons? Not in Marowak. I have names, dates, testimony. Then you have ghost stories. Noah slid his podcast card across the desk. The sheriff didn't touch it. You can file a public records request. That'll take weeks. Good thing nothing's missing then. On the way out, Noah passed a bulletin board labeled Community Watch. Half the notices were faded, but one caught his eye. A photo of Eliza Morell, age 22, smiling in a graduation cap. The paper had been half ripped away, and someone had scribbled over the bottom line in black ink. Noah leaned closer. Under the black ink, if the light hit it right, he could still read the text. Last seen, April 23, 2019. Back at Maple Pines Lodge, Noah locked the door and double-checked the windows. His portable recorder was still running. He scrubbed through the audio from earlier in the day and stopped cold when he heard a noise he hadn't noticed live. 2 sets of footsteps leaving the station. But only his own shadow had been visible in the glass. Later that night, 3:03 a.m., to be exact, Noah woke to a creak from the hallway. He grabbed his flashlight, his recorder, and slowly opened the door. Nothing there. Just a manila folder slid under the threshold. Noah brought it inside, placed it on the desk like it might bite him, and carefully opened it. Inside, a police report with the header blacked out. One grainy photo of the old tower, dated 1988. A single sticky note with the words, "Don't trust Hart." Some of us remember. The report itself was almost entirely redacted, except for one small line in the middle of the page. Subject classified. Echo participant, not retrieved. That term again. Echo participant. Noah whispered it aloud, and his recorder clicked, automatically marking a chapter. It had started doing that lately. Unprompted, he flipped to the back of the file. There, scrawled in shaky handwriting, was one more note. If you're reading this, you're already on the list. And just below it, Silas, N. Status pending. Noah backed away from the desk. The room felt smaller. He looked around and realized something was missing. His notebook. Gone. He turned to his laptop. A new file had appeared. No sender. No title. Just a short, looping clip of audio. His own voice, breathless, terrified. They're not keeping the truth from us. They're keeping us from the truth. Then a sound, brief. Metal scraping tile. A microphone hitting the ground. Cut to static. Chapter 8. Town Hall at midnight. It started with a note. Slipped into Noah's jacket pocket while he was inside the hardware store asking about radio batteries. If you want the truth, come to the church at midnight. Leave your phone. Bring nothing that listens. Signed, L. Noah didn't know anyone with that initial. But he knew Adair when he read one. At 11:47 p.m., he stood at the edge of the old St. Aldrich's church, the one with the caved-in steeple and boarded windows. No lights. No cars. But the door was open. Just barely. And someone, a teenage boy with a blue knit beanie, stood on the steps, staring at him without blinking. The boy nodded once, then disappeared inside. Noah followed. The air inside was thick with dust and candle smoke, but the building wasn't abandoned. Not really. The pews had been cleared. The stained glass was long shattered. But the altar remained. So did the spiral, drawn on the floor in white chalk, a perfect 5-foot coil at the center of the space. Surrounding it, 21 people. Old, young, familiar faces from town. All standing barefoot in silence. The boy with the beanie reappeared beside him. Whispered, "Don't speak. Just listen." Then he joined the circle. Noah stood at the back, heart thudding, breath shallow. Then the room changed. Not with sound, but with sync. All at once, the group exhaled. Then, in perfect unison, they spoke. "Take what we give, or lose what you love." Then silence. Then again. "Take what we give, or lose what you love." The repetition wasn't robotic. It was reverent. Not a warning. A vow. Noah reached for his pocket recorder out of instinct, only to remember the note. Bring nothing that listens. So instead, he watched. They continued chanting for 7 minutes. Then stopped. And one by one, began to walk the spiral. Barefoot. Slow. Counterclockwise. Each whispered something into the center. Not out loud. Into the spiral. When they reached the end, they turned, walked backward out of it, and left the church in silence. Only the boy remained. He approached Noah with cautious eyes. "You shouldn't have seen that. You invited me. I didn't think you'd come. What was that?" "We remember the ones no one else does." He looked toward the spiral. "But we can't say their names out loud. Not anymore." "Why not?" "Because then they start to come back." He handed Noah a folded slip of paper. Inside, a single name. Jude Silas. April 23rd, 1997. Noah's blood ran cold. "That's my uncle." The boy nodded. "You never met him, right?" "No. He died before I was born. A car crash." "That's not what happened." "How do you know that?" The boy stepped backward into the spiral and whispered, "Because I'm the one who tried to remember him." Then he vanished. No door. No sound. Just gone. Noah blinked and looked around the church. Empty. No candles. No people. The spiral on the floor? Gone. As if it had never been there. But in his pocket, he still held the paper. Still held the name. And when he whispered it to himself, Jude Silas, a chill ran down his spine. The air behind him shifted. And in the silence, his voice recorder, back in his motel room, left on standby, clicked on by itself. Recording nothing. Except breathing. Chapter 9. Voice in the Static. The new episode went live at 2 a.m. Noah titled it, Spiral Witness, the town that doesn't remember. He didn't include names. Didn't mention the church, the chalk spiral, or the boy with the blue knit beanie. But the feeling? He left that in. "There's something here," he said into the mic, voice low and tight. "Something we're not meant to solve, just to inherit." By sunrise, the episode had over 18,000 downloads. A huge leap. By noon, it had cracked number 3 on the viral true crime chart. And that's when the messages started. DMs flooded his inbox. "I saw the spiral too in a dream last night. Can you hear it in your walls yet? I used to know someone who vanished on April 23rd. Never thought it meant anything. There's a spiral under the pane in my apartment. It's pulsing." One simply read, "You're not broadcasting. You're sinking." Then came the photo. No sender. No subject. Just an attached .jpg file titled echo_seed.jpg. Noah clicked. His heart stopped. It was a picture of him, as a child, no older than 7, standing in a dimly lit room he didn't recognize. wearing a red sweater, facing a wall covered in spirals drawn in marker, crayon, and chalk. But what chilled him most was the timestamp on the photo. April 23, 2004, 2:59 a.m. The year his father died. He zoomed in on the image. In the lower right corner, written faintly in red marker, were the words. He never remembered drawing them. Noah pulled out an old hard drive. Archived family photos, childhood videos. He scanned for that date, April 23, 2004. Nothing. The folder marked Spring 2004 was missing entirely, like it had never existed. His inbox pinged again. Another anonymous message. This one contained a recording, an audio clip labeled child_echo.wave. Noah hit play. It was a boy's voice. Young. Terrified. But it wasn't crying. It was chanting, "Take what we give, or lose what you love." Over and over. Each repetition slower. More hollow. Until the last whisper was in his own adult voice. "Or lose what you love." He paused the file. Then rewound. This time, he let it play to the end. And at the very last second, layered just beneath the final chant, was another voice. Older. Familiar. His mother. Whispering. "You promised me he'd forget." Noah staggered back from his laptop. He stood in the center of his motel room, staring at the reflection of himself in the window. Behind him, reflected faintly, was a shape. Tall. Faceless. Wearing a spiral like a crown. He spun around. Nothing there. But when he turned back to the window, the figure remained. Staring. Chapter 10, Rule of the One. The old man at the antique store didn't flinch when Noah mentioned the date. April 23rd, Noah said carefully. "Mean anything around here?" The man, Walter Gray, according to his stitched name tag, didn't look up from polishing a dusty glass radio dial. Only that it comes once a year. And someone always goes missing? Walter finally looked up. Eyes like stone. "Not missing. Give it." Noah paused. His recorder wasn't rolling. He hadn't even taken it out. Something told him not here. "What do you mean?" Walter glanced around the empty store, then leaned in over the counter. "There's a rule. Been around longer than this town, longer than roads. The rule of the one. One what? One name. One voice. One offering. A sacrifice, if you want to call it that. And if it doesn't happen?" Walter's voice dropped. "Then the spiral chooses for itself." Later, back in his motel room, Noah paced. One person every year. On April 23rd, at 2:59 a.m. A contract of memory. A sacrifice in silence. His phone buzzed. An email from an anonymous sender, spiraltruth@protonmail.com. Subject line. "You're early." Attached, a scan of a typed police memo, dated 1977. Pattern of disappearances, Merriwick Township. Redacted names. Most of the document blacked out. But one phrase was clear. Locals refer to it as the rule of the one. It must happen yearly. If interrupted, phenomenon escalates unpredictably. Memories conflict. Time disorients. Subjects vanish from record and perception. Emergency protocol not advised. Recommendation: let the pattern continue. Noah closed the laptop slowly. He pulled out the black notebook from the library again. The one with the names. He flipped to the final entries. 2021, Walker Mays. 2022, Alyssa Grant. 2023, still blank. Still waiting. But the line now looked different. The ink had faded slightly, as if reality itself was erasing its own placeholder. Then he saw the back cover. A name had been added. His. 2023, Noah Silas. If he won't remember, he will be remembered. The spiral drawn on the motel mirror the night before had been wiped clean by the maid. But now it was back, etched into the glass itself. This time, glowing faintly red under the lamp. Noah's hands trembled as he set up his mic. He needed to tell the truth. Needed to warn his listeners. He hit record. This isn't a cold case. It's a tradition. A ritual. A choice. And I'm beginning to think. He paused. Stared into the mirror. I was never here to investigate. I was here to fill a space. The recording picked up a whisper, but not from him. A voice, faint in the background. The hour approaches. Choose. Or be chosen. Chapter 11, The Hollow Voices. Merriwick's oldest living resident was Margaret Vale, 93, blind, and mute. She lived in a house that hadn't been updated since the Eisenhower administration, at the very end of Ashmere Lane. where the pavement gave way to cracked brick and the air smelled faintly of burned paper. Noah had to call ahead. A caretaker named Mira answered and agreed to let him visit. She doesn't speak, Mira warned. And she doesn't like being asked about the spiral. She doesn't have to speak, Noah replied. I just need to know if she remembers me. Mira led him through the creaky home and into a sun-drenched sitting room filled with dust motes and yellowing lace curtains. Margaret sat in a high-backed armchair, her white hair braided like a crown, hands folded neatly in her lap. She faced the window, blind eyes open, unmoving. She looked ancient, but watchful, like she could see something Noah couldn't. Margaret, Mira said gently, the podcaster's here. Margaret's lips twitched. Not a smile. A signal. Noah sat across from her and placed a small cassette recorder between them. You don't have to say anything, he whispered. Just listen. He told her everything. About the names, the tower, the spiral, the rule of the one. About the girl who vanished midstream. About the whisper in his own voice. And finally, I think I've been here before. Margaret didn't move. But Mira did. She stepped forward, holding a small box. She wanted to give you this. Inside, a child's drawing. Crayons. Torn paper. Faded with age. It showed a boy in a red sweater, standing in front of a wall covered in spirals. His eyes were just black dots. His mouth open in a silent O. Above him, written in shaky childlike handwriting. Jude is gone. I will remember for him. At the bottom corner, barely visible. Noah. Age 6. Noah felt the floor tilt. That's me. I don't remember drawing this. You weren't meant to, Mira said. Margaret reached forward suddenly, blind fingers brushing the drawing. She tapped it once, then opened a drawer beside her chair. Inside, a photo, black and white. A family, his family, standing outside this very house. His mother, young. His father, a small boy. But no Jude. Where's my uncle? He asked. Myra's face softened. There was no uncle, Noah. That's not true. My mother told me. Your mother remembers a lie. Because she asked for you to forget the truth. Noah stood. Who am I supposed to be? Margaret, slowly, reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out a yellowed index card. On it, in delicate cursive, not all voices are for speaking. Some are for keeping. She turned the card over. On the back, a date, April 23rd, 1997. A name, Silas, N. Echo candidate. A final line. Status, deferred. Noah's hands shook. Deferred until now. Margaret nodded. Mira placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. She saved you. But the signal never stops listening. As he walked out of the house, the wind picked up. The trees whispered. And behind him, Margaret reached toward the window, drawing her fingers slowly in the air. A spiral. Chapter 12, the first broadcast. The Merriwick broadcast station sat on a lonely hill east of town, encircled by pine trees and rusting satellite dishes that hadn't rotated in decades. Noah had passed it twice before, just a crumbling building behind chain-link fence and frostbitten grass. The sign out front read, WBMR, Voice of Merriwick. Silence is sacred. The windows were blacked out with cardboard and duct tape. The front door had been nailed shut, but the back, an old loading dock door, was slightly open. Inside, the air was thick with static. Not sound, but atmosphere. Like something had been broadcasting there so long it had stained the oxygen. Old reel-to-reel machines lined the walls. Signal meters twitched. Dials glowed faintly, though nothing was plugged in. And in the far corner, stacked in chronological order, were tapes. Each one labeled with a date. April 23rd, 1970. April 23rd, 1971. April 23rd, 1972. All the way to April 23rd, 2022. Noah ran his fingers across the spines. Each tape had a name. Some were crossed out. Some had only the word, received. Others, rejected. And a few had nothing at all. But one tape caught his eye. April 23rd, 1997, Silas, N. Override failed. He picked it up with trembling hands. The case felt cold. He found a working tape deck and slid the reel into place. Clicked it on. The tape began with a high-pitched whine, like feedback through an old landline. Then a child's voice. This is Noah Silas. I don't want to go, but they said I already did. A pause. The voice continued. They made me draw the spiral. They said if I gave it a name, it would remember mine. A longer pause. A breath. But I said nothing. And then everything stopped. Then the sound cut. Silence. Until a second voice, mechanical, older, distorted, came on. Override failed. Memory not accepted. Silas, status, deferred. And then, awaiting reactivation. Noah froze. The machine clicked again. But this time, the audio was live. A voice filtered through the speaker, not from the tape, but from the frequency. You have returned. You have brought listeners. And so the hour nears. What will you give? To keep what you forgot. The machine shut itself off. Every light in the room blinked. Then surged. A screen across the wall flickered on. Noah's face. Live. Broadcasting. And a line of text scrolling across the bottom. Echo Signal Episode 0, The Listener's Choice. He grabbed the tape, the notebook, and ran out into the cold night. His portable recorder buzzed in his pocket. When he checked the file log, he saw a new entry. APR 23_now.wave. Length, midnight. Size, 666 kilobytes. And the waveform? A perfect spiral. The case may be closed for now. But mysteries always leave behind new questions. If you enjoyed this investigation, leave a like. Every clue you find keeps the trail alive. Share your theories in the comments. Your mind might be sharper than you think. And subscribe to our channel Detective Mystery Stories, where every case hides a deeper secret, and every secret deserves to be uncovered. The next mystery is already waiting for you.